So the last race in our first set of finals here on finals day at Genk, the home of champions for the opening round of the 2021 Rotax Max Euro Trophy. DD2 Masters now up next, and let's have a look at the starting grid. So, Rudy Champion and Paul Louveau, the two Frenchmen at the front of the grid. Rudy Champion, 2 wins yesterday, and Paul Louveau, a win yesterday and took pole in qualifying. Ian Getz will have 2018 DD2 Masters champion Slavomir Moransky alongside. Then it is Alessandro Glauser from Switzerland and Belgium's Tom Dessert. 2019 champion Roberto Pajewski, not just for the Euro Trophy but Grand Finals that year, starts 7th and has defending champion Germany's Sebastian Rumpelhardt alongside. Bruno Dos Santos and Christophe Capitan make it an all-French row 5 and complete the top 10. Running at the 15 strong, it is Karl Klebort from Belgium, Marco Winkler from Germany, Christophe Adams from Belgium, Damien Loiseau from France, and the Netherlands' Leo Kerstens. So they've just completed the sighting lap. They now head onto the formation lap. Once again, 14 minutes on the clock, plus an additional lap set to count down the minute that the red light, which has just been ignited on the starting gantry, goes out and we go racing. After this, we will have our last 4 finals of the day to conclude what has been an action-packed 31 race weekend. And before each second final takes place, we will hand out the 2020 championship trophies to those that now join the Roll of Honour after 3 seasons, as we are now in our 4th season here as the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. And those presentations will take place on the start-finish line before every single second final here today. A bit of jocularity between me and the stream director at the moment, which is why I just had to go a little bit quiet. But we all are friends and family here in this paddock. But you can now see that DD2 Masters, it would be the class that I would be racing in based on my actual age and probably weight in comparison with some drivers. But we've got 15 drivers about to go racing here as they head into the tram lines. Are we ready? Are we steady? Lights out, we're off and racing. And a good start by Rudy Champion as Paul Louveau gets muscled out of second position. He's got 2 up his inside, and that is Moransky. And also Dessert. Oh, tangle between Moransky, who goes sideways. Moransky goes rally crossing. Oh my goodness, he tangled with Paul Louveau for the 2nd time in 2 corners through turns 2 and 3. And it's just a repeat for Moransky of what happened in the first heat yesterday, where he came together with Roberto Pajewski. But Louveau gets his way up the inside because Ian Getz has now hit the front. And Rudy Champion now down into 3rd position. And there's Alessandro Glauser trying to go up the inside of the 503 from France. And that was through the exit of turn number 8. There is Sebastian Rumpelhardt. He's ahead of Tom Dessert with Roberto Pajewski in close proximity, as it's nearly side by side between, it's Karl Klebort possibly, and Marco Winkler. And Winkler looks up the inside through turn 11, not able to get through. There's now Dessert keeping ahead of Pajewski, as Getz has got Paul Louveau trying to go up the inside through turn 1. Into the apex for turn 2. They both take exactly the same racing line as Dessert goes sideways going through turn 2, and that allows Rumpelhardt and Pajewski to get, well, Rumpelhardt was ahead of Dessert, but Pajewski managed to thread his way through. And now Dessert has Bruno Dos Santos behind him, Marco Winkler Coming under fire from France is Christophe Capitan. Then Christophe Adams is ahead of Damien Loiseau. Moransky all the way down in stone dead last. Well, not stone dead last now because he's up into 14th position. But there are the two leaders, Ian Getz and Paul Louvaux. First and second, heading down into the right-hander at turn 10. So it sounds like there's a penalty coming the way, and it's going to be thrown in the direction of Paul Louvaux. 5-second time penalty. So again, as now, Louvaux trying to go for the lead up the inside of Ian Getz, going through turns 1 and 2. Louvaux does not make it happen. Getz was very wise to what was going to happen, and it's a 5-second time penalty for pushing for France's Paul Louvaux. And he's 1.8 seconds up the road from Rudy Champion, who's got Alessandro Glauser closing in on him. Roberto Pajewski now up from 7th to 5th, pulling away from Tom Dessert, who's got Sebastian Rumpelhardt behind him. So the two leaders make their way through into turn 7 as Rumpelhardt trying to go up the inside through turn 7 on Tom Dessert and gets through. And there behind is the 523 of France's Bruno dos Santos. Carl Klebot still battling away with Marco Winkler. And that's for 9th and 10th respectively. There's now Pajewski trying to close in on Alessandro Glauser and Rudy Champion for 3rd place. So 3rd, 4th and 5th. As now Paul Louvaux has got up the inside through turn 12. And Ian Getz now goes wide, puts the hammer down, carries the momentum through the corner. But Louvaux retakes the lead on the ending parts of lap number 3. And Ian Getz trying to do his level best to try and get past the Frenchman. However, wherever Louvaux finishes, he needs to make up the best part of well over 4.8 seconds. But Ian Getz is not a man to back down from any kind of challenge, no matter your nationality. Glauser is the meat in the sandwich at the moment between Champion and Pajewski. And Paul Louvaux is the one that has set the fastest lap of anybody, a 1 minute 12.538. And the battle now between the likes of Tom Dessert, Bruno dos Santos, and you could maybe have Karl Klebot, Marco Winkler, and the recovering. Now that is Slavomir Moransky. He's closed on, and he's trying to latch onto the back bumper of Marco Winkler. So 3rd, 4th and 5th, Champion versus Glauser and Pajewski. Pajewski's got past Glauser. Well, that's shades of old. And now Pajewski on the hunt. Both on Sodi carts. And Pajewski lines it up neatly, as does Glauser. They both get past Champion. But Champion, like a whirling dervish, gets through up the inside of the pair of them. He actually goes through the pair of them from second to turn 2 to 3, and then gets past Glauser. He's trying to get past Pajewski now. Well, remember when Roberto Pajewski in Adria in 2019 said, "Come and race with us"? This is exactly what he means. He wants competition. He wants to fight for every single millimetre, inch of that tarmac. And with drivers like Alessandro Glauser and Rudy Champion, the good thing is that Pajewski, I think your wish, has finally been given, my friend. As now Alessandro Glauser up the inside of Rudy Champion. Got nearly, well, that was close between him and Pajewski. That could have been front bumper, T-boning a side pod on the right-hand side. But managed to put the brakes on at the right time. Champion looking to get past the Swiss driver. And Rudy Champion, based out of Marseille. No, that's not spelt like Mars. It's not got the the MAR off of Marseille taken off it. No. But the PKS composition driver now finds himself in 5th, having started on the front row of the grid. So a good work from Pajewski to really showcase that form that took him to the 2019 titles that he secured using Rotax Evo power. And now Tom Dessert trying to close in once again on Sebastian Humpelhardt. That is the battle for 6th on the road, as now Slavomir Muransky has got himself a little bit further up the order. He's passed both Marco Winkler and Karl Klibor at the same point. Well, not at the same point, but at some point on this circuit. And now Muransky's going to go hunting down Karl Klibor. 6 minutes and 40 seconds plus one additional lap. Paul Louveau continues to lead. He has now extended his gap to 1.8 seconds, and on the completion of lap number 5, the Frenchman managed to pull out of the bag. Well, it wasn't a rabbit out of a magician's hat, that's definitely true, but he put in a 1 minute 12.143. It's now Rudy Champion closing in on Alessandro Glauser. There's Sebastian Humpelhardt and Tom Dessert. Just behind them is Slavomir Muransky. So Muransky has got himself up into 9th position and is moving forward. Good move there by Rudy Champion up the inside through turn 7 on Alessandro Glauser, who instantly retaliates and counterattacks through turn 8. They're side by side now, going through into turn 10. But then Glauser keeps the advantage over Champion. Louveau is now starting to pull away. That gap between him and Ian Getz is extending. As now Glauser and Champion come through the final turn. Louveau's lead is now nearly 3.2 seconds, and he's put in another fastest lap. First 1:11 of this race, and he's put in a 1 minute 11.638. So he is just over 1.8 seconds away for extending to a 5-second advantage. Now, he's got a 5-second time penalty post-race for pushing. Obviously, that was for maybe an incident the race control spotted in the first run down to turns 1 and 2. But he's making amends for that in spades. Now, I'm looking off at the sort of like the area just on the right-hand side of the commentary box, and the biggest thing is that the water is dissipating. And you can see now there is a drying line. That line is starting to come more prevalent. And then there is the ultimate call for finals, for the second batch of finals. Our driver's going to chance it and do the change to slicks. Because the way that the times are dropping, they're not dropping enough to be maybe over that crossover period, but the drivers might make a strategic call. It could either work or it could put them in the mire. But sometimes you take a chance, as sometimes risk is reward. Sometimes, well, risk also favours reward for those that are brave enough to do it. As Karl Klibor is now being passed by Marco Winkler, and that's for 10th position. And in the meantime, Tom Dessert has now been passed by Slavomir Muransky. So Muransky drops all the way down to 15th position. He's now up into P7. As we have just over 3.5 minutes to go, plus the final lap on this first final. This will take us into the lunch break. And then we'll have 4 more races to go before we say goodbye to this wonderful circuit here at Karting Genk. A big thank you to everyone that has turned up for this event. 153 drivers from 22 different nationalities. But Muransky is looking unfazed. The next person he's got in his crosshairs, on his crossbow, that is Sebastian Humpelhardt, as they head their way down into turn 12. And Paul Louveau, I would say in the next lap or two, will have enough of a cushion. He's got nearly a 4.6 second advantage over Ian Getz. As there goes Muransky up the inside of Humpelhardt through into turn 2. Humpelhardt absolutely shoots his way past the Polish driver from 46 team in the 541 entry coming out of turn 2. And what one of the things is that both karts are exactly the same chassis, Tony kart. As Glauser and Champion still drawing battle lines. as now Pajewski is 1.2 seconds up the road. So Pajewski puts himself into a prime position, just behind pole position for the second final. Obviously, these results are provisional until the conclusion of any judicial and technical matters post-race. There's now Humpelhart again feeling the heat under the collar because he knows that Moransky is there as they come out of turn 11 and into turn 12 as Champion looks to go up the inside of Glauser once again, but the Swiss driver closes the door. And Paul Louveau has done exactly what he needed to do, just kept his head down, as there is Rudy Champion. Again, Glauser shuts the door as Moransky up the inside of Humpelhart, and it's exactly a repeat. It's like deja vu all over again. 2 laps, the same thing happened between Moransky and Humpelhart. Moransky gets the run on Humpelhart going down the start-finish straight, and then sends it through turn 2, and then Humpelhart goes, yep, right, watch this. Bang, hits the throttle, pulls away, but Moransky has got other overtaking opportunities around the circuit, one of which they're just coming through into now. But if he was a little bit closer to Humpelhart and got the toe, he would be able to get past. 60 seconds on the clock remain, and our leader, Paul Louveau, is now making his way down into turn 12. So this time, I think we'll be heading on to the penultimate lap. So we shall be lap 12 out of 13, 11 laps completed. Louveau crosses the line, 1 minute, 11.874. He's been consistently in the high 111s. And now the gap is just under 6.1. So there you have it. Paul Louveau, he must have heard me. Must have heard me. And he's rocketing away. That gap could possibly be 7 or 7.5 seconds close to. As on our screens, for those watching at home, you've got the likes of Marco Winkler, and that is Bruno Dos Santos from France. So Winkler trying to get himself into 9th position. That wouldn't be a bad shout, considering the German actually started down in 12th position. So good run from him. Roberto Pajewski still running in P3. Timer has now expired. Next time we'll have the final lap board. So now, last lap board is out for the first part of the finals day action. And Paul Louveau from France, from Boulogne-Billancourt, starts the 13th and final lap. And you can see that he is absolutely rocketed away from Ian Getz from Belgium. 7.4 seconds is the differential. Pajewski rounding out the top 3, but Alessandro Glauser is 9/10 of a second away. But that could be too tall an order for the Swiss driver to close up that gap. Rudy Champion starting on pole, currently P5. Sebastian Humpelhart has now pulled away from Slavomir Moransky, with Tom Dessert rounding out the top 8. And a little bit further back, I haven't really mentioned this guy much, Christophe Adams is down in 13th position, and he's been battling away with the likes of Damien Loiseau and Christophe Capitan. Not the form that we would customarily expect from Christophe Adams, but it's not been an easy weekend for a lot of drivers, himself included. But out of the penultimate corner, France's Paul Louveau puts himself in prime position for the second final this afternoon, and he takes the first victory in DD2 Masters in 2021. Consummate, calm, collected, and absolutely dominant. Ian Getz now crosses the line. The gap between the pair of them, 8 seconds at the checkered flag. Roberto Pajewski comes across the line to finish 3rd ahead of Alessandro Glauser and Rudy Champion. A great battle between that trio in the mid part of this race. Sebastian Humpelhart takes 6th ahead of Slavomir Moransky. Tom Dessert finishes 8th ahead of Bruno Dos Santos. Marco Winkler, Karl Klebold, Christophe Capitan, Christophe Adams, and Damien Loiseau and Leo Kirstens crossing the finish line. All drivers finishing 13 laps of racing. But Paul Louveau, pole position setter from qualifying, 2nd on the row, takes the victory in cool, commanding Gallic style.